2014 Winter Olympic Games were held in Sochi, a city in the south of Russia. Across the course of the Games, Russian anti-doping authorities, in tandem with literal spies, orchestrated an elaborate cover-up of a state-sponsored doping program that had provided prohibited substances to athletes across all disciplines. These officials covertly disposed of dirty urine obtained from athletes for collection and replaced it with pre-donated, clean samples to escape detection. They got away with it for the entirety of the Games, at which Russia topped the medal tally. Ultimately, the scheme didn't come apart until whistleblowers such as Dr. Gregory Rodchenkov, a director of the scheme, turned over evidence that led to the sanctioning of 43 Russian athletes and ultimately the stripping of 13 Russian medals. And thereby doping was eliminated forever and Russia became trustworthy once more and we don't have to worry about it and sport's clean again. Except that's not quite right, because when the World Anti-Doping Authority caught and sanctioned those 43 Russian athletes, they likely missed more than 1,000 others competing alongside them. The first thing we need to understand about doping in elite sport is that it's everywhere. Now sure, the Russians are particularly into it, like if doping were an Olympic sport, it's probably the only one they'd win legitimately, but suffices to say everyone's on the gear. In 2012, then WADA Director General David Howman suggested he thought that true doping amongst elite athletes was probably a double-digit figure. As it turns out, that's a bit of a thought process like the one Patrick had in this clip from SpongeBob I remember from a few years ago.
I've never seen so many mattresses.
Yeah.
How many do you think there are?
10.
Cool.
I say this because a WADA-commissioned anonymous survey, the results of which were published in 2017, found that 43.6% of elite athletes sampled at the 2011 IAAF World Championships admitted to doping in the past year. That's the percentage of competitors I used to work out the cheaters at Sochi. But Angus, I hear you inquire with exasperation, surely WADA conducted testing at the IAAF World Championships. Surely the cheaters got caught. Oh, poor helpless viewer, how naive you are. WADA did conduct testing at the IAAF World Championships, and only 0.5% of those tests were positive. More generally, only 1 to 2% of the traditional method tests conducted around the world annually are positive. Even the more advanced biological passport testing method, which I'll explain later, returns only 14% positive tests. So we're left frustrated for the same reason a wildebeest in the African savannah might not pull up for a drink at a lake. There are too many cheaters. So how and why exactly are they cheating? What are they putting in their bodies and what is it doing to them? These are good questions you ask, because I've already pre-recorded some answers. In this video, we're going to look at blood doping, anabolic steroids, and game day sharpeners like stimulants and beta blockers. So if you're a professional athlete watching this, take out your pen and get ready to take down some notes for the step-by-step guide to gold I'm about to give you. First, let's talk about blood doping. The basic idea behind it is to lift the amount of oxygen the blood can carry to the muscles, because if the muscles can be supplied with elevated oxygen, they can perform at a higher level for a longer period of time. Blood doping doesn't make you swole, but it fights muscle fatigue and speeds up recovery. So it's great for grueling endurance events like the Tour de France. It is less great for the reputation of your sport or for not dying of a heart attack at 38. In your blood, your red blood cells are your primary oxygen carriers. They contain a very important protein called hemoglobin, the centre of which are iron atoms that bind to oxygen molecules at the lungs, carry them to your muscles, where they pick up carbon dioxide and chuck it out in the opposite direction. This iron makes your blood red and is clearly essential for our body's ability to carry oxygen. The need for it is why most of us eat meat, or if you're vegan, why you faint every 13 minutes. Blood dopers aim to boost the number of red blood cells that can pump around their body, because more red blood cells equals more hemoglobin, and more hemoglobin equals more oxygen to supply to the muscle. Credit where credit's due. Drug cheaters are pretty creative, and they've found a few different ways to boost the number of red blood cells artificially. Firstly, you could choose to hype up with some erythropoietin, or EPO. EPO is a hormone our bodies naturally produce to stimulate red blood cell production when their levels are south of normal. But if you're really clever, you can pharmaceutically produce EPO and ingest it, artificially boosting the number of red blood cells in your system and therefore your oxygen carrying capacity. According to scientists, 3 million% of professional cyclists had this idea between 1990 and 2010, and Lance Armstrong nabbed himself just the 7 consecutive Tour de France titles while doped up on 3 to 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools of EPO. Also, 18 European cyclists are believed to have died from EPO-related complications between 1987 and 1991. Because as it turns out, stuffing your blood with 50% more red blood cells than it's meant to carry kind of turns it into red jelly and is not great for helping your heart, beat. If the hormone stimulation route isn't organic enough for you, you can blood dope by transfusion, because it's just more natural. An athlete might donate some of their own blood well ahead of competition, pull out and store the red blood cells, returning the rest of the blood's contents. And then, when they're just about to compete, jab back in those red blood cells for a transient boost in oxygen carrying capacity. This is called autologous blood transfusion, and it's pretty hard to catch because an athlete is just re-injecting themselves with their own cells. Alternatively, if you're a bit squeamish and don't want to cop any more needles than you have to, you can undergo homologous blood transfusion, where another person of the same blood type donates their red blood cells to you. This has led to a few athletes having to explain why the cells of 2 different people are pumping around their veins, which has led to some of the best excuses in doping history. In 2004, cyclist Tyler Hamilton claimed he had 2 types of red blood cells in his system because he had absorbed a vanished twin in the womb. But what if you're not looking for endurance? What if you're a big bopper in need of a bit of extra strength? Well, for that we turn to our second drug class, anabolic steroids. You've almost certainly heard of athletes get done for using steroids, but what these reports are almost invariably referring to are athletes being caught for using anabolic steroids. A steroid is just any molecule that contains 17 carbon atoms packed into 4 carbon rings. An anabolic steroid is a very specific subcategory of steroid, named for the process of anabolism. Now, while this might sound like what a person with a speech impediment would use to describe Hannibal Lecter's diet, just pause and ruminate on that joke for a second. This term actually refers to the process by which our bodies take amino acids and manufacture whole proteins, like you need it to do to build muscle. Biochemically, an anabolic steroid, which is also called an androgenic steroid, is one that mimics or is involved in producing testosterone. These roids activate androgen receptors on cells, which cause the development of male characteristics, primarily, if you're a doper, to produce muscle mass and strength, but also the deepening of the voice, growth of facial hair, and increase in aggression, other secondary male sex characteristics. Since females don't naturally produce as much testosterone, these secondary effects are a fair bit more prominent in roided up female athletes. In sports demanding power and strength, like sprinting or weightlifting, anabolic steroids are everywhere. Infamously, Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson was stripped of his 100-metre gold at the 1988 Seoul Olympics for being doped up to his eyeballs on the anabolic steroid stanozolol. Actually, in his case, he may have been doped up in his eyeballs. Look at his eyeballs. But another reason these drugs are so pervasive is that they're so easy to manufacture. So long as the active site of the steroid in question can mimic the binding effect of testosterone or its metabolites to androgen receptors, switching them on and giving you more muscle, it doesn't matter what the rest of the steroid's molecular structure looks like. Any half-decent chemist can invent new designer steroids that anti-doping agencies can't test for because they're molecules that they don't know exist. Marion Jones, an American sprinter who won 5 Olympic medals at Sydney in 2000, handed them back in 2007 after it was revealed she was juicing with the designer steroid tetrahydrogestrinone. Both blood doping and anabolic steroids amplify the body's physiological capacity. You can physically run longer and harder if you're hyped up with those bad boys. But can you dope the mental side of your game? Is it illegal to calm the nerves with a suspicious-looking white powder? As it turns out, yes. When you train in the sport your whole life and you reach the pinnacle of the elite level, the adrenaline is pumping, you're ready to go, and you are fired up. Maybe it's the roar of the crowd that does that to you. Or maybe it's a pre-game hit of amphetamines and or cocaine. Drugs of this nature target the central nervous system and speed up the brain and body, including the athlete's heart rate, blood pressure, and body temperature, making them less fatigued, more alert, and competitive, though probably unsafe to operate heavy machinery. That's why WADA are absolute killjoys who will ban you from your sport for having a couple of lines on a Saturday night with the boys, although Ben Cousins made a professional career out of it. Alternatively, you might need to calm yourself down to perform at your best, like if you're a shooter, an archer, or a darts player, because these are clearly finely tuned athletes that will stop at nothing for that edge. In that case, you can take beta blockers, which block the effects of adrenaline, slow heart rate, keep a steady hand, and increase focus. They're not too tricky to detect though, as North Korean Olympic shooter Kim Jong-soo found out when he was stripped of his 2 Beijing medals for using the beta blocker propanolol. It's worth noting as well the use of diuretics by doping athletes. These are drugs that don't have directly performance-enhancing effects, but rather mask the presence of drugs that do. They promote urine production to flush out detectable levels of those drugs more quickly, and also dilute concentrations of doping agents in blood or urine samples to hopefully avoid their detection. Shane Warne copped a year-long ban in 2003 for the use of a diuretic pill, so it's sad to see that even the most elite of athletes, desperate for that extra competitive edge, will stop at nothing in pursuit of it. So as it turns out, athletes everywhere in every sport are taking drugs all of the time to hype up and fire up. So how do WADA and the national anti-doping agencies across the world hope to find them? Hop over to the next video in the series to find out exactly how, and how to beat them.